Hi, this is Chris with Everydayvba. In this video, we're going to be looking at cells, and we're going to ask the question: cells, what are they good for? Well, you do a bunch with cells, and if you've used Excel for any amount of time, you know what those cells are. You know that you've got a grid, and you've got cell A1, or in this case, E2. Well, how do you get access, and how do you do that in code? And that's what we're going to discuss in this video. So if you hit Alt F11, it's going to open up your Visual Basic Editor. I've got it open. First thing we're going to do is we're going to insert a module. You'll notice that comes under Book 1. I've only got one workbook open. We're going to call this macro WhatTheCell. Now you'll notice I didn't put spaces in there. I can do underscores. Spaces, it gets mad at you. So and I can actually show you. Put space, it's going to turn it red. If you don't have those alerts turned off, it's going to yell at you and give you a little annoying warning. You can get rid of that in your options. All right. So what is a cell? Well, typically cells are, you've got a row index and a column index. Now that row index is just the number of rows down, and your column index is the number of columns. So currently I'm in row 6. I'm in column G, which happens to be 7. Now, so if I went cells 6 dot down 6, I'm going to go over 8, and I'm just going to hit select. And you'll notice that when I run this macro, it's just going to move it over 1. Now, it's important to realize that there's a couple things that you can do with cells. It's important to realize that the worksheet is the parent. So for example, if I came in here and I went sheets 1.cells, it would always select this. Now I might actually get an error if I wasn't on my first sheet in my workbook, or the one that I'm currently on. If you don't include the sheet reference, it's just going to assume whatever your active sheet is, that's the cells that you want to change. Now you got to be really careful with that, because you can get in trouble, especially when you're deleting stuff, or you're adding stuff, or you're taking stuff, etc. But what can you do with cells? Now, first thing you can do is you can strip data out of Excel. So if we want to know, we're going to make a variable. We're going to call this S1, because I couldn't think of anything better. Okay, so we're going to go, what is cells? And we're going to go 9, 9, 4. And just so that we know which one we're on, I'm going to go cells 9, 4 dot select. Now, this is not the most efficient code, because every time it has to select, it has to actually select that object, and you would not want to necessarily put this in code. But if you're debugging, or if you're having issues, this is a really good way to say, oh, that's where I'm at. Now, this is especially good if you haven't referenced your sheet or your workbook, or the parents, because then you're like, oh, well, I'm selecting on the active sheet and not the sheet that I necessarily want to go on. So if I've got that selected, I've got my S1 variable. Now I haven't declared that, so it's currently set up as a variant. You'll notice that down here in my locals window. And you'll notice that now S1, if I was to go MsgBox and just do S1, it's going to simply give me what I put into that variable. Now, anything on the left is what's going to be holding the data, and anything on the right is what you're cramming into that data. So in this case, we just did cells. Now, if it was a number, you could do some multiplication on it. You could do some different things. Now, what's the other stuff? Other things that you can do is you can actually do some formatting. So if we went cells 9, let's do 9, 5 just for fun, which is over. Let's do 10, 5, which would be down 1 row. And I want to do Font.Bold equals true. Now, I did that all in lowercase because when I hit enter, I wanted to make sure that those became capital case or proper cased, because then I know that that code is actually good. I hit F8. F8's going to walk me through this. I'm just going to drag down, because all I really care about is bolding this. And we're going to bold this one right here. Now, notice I haven't selected it, but it's still going to bold what I'm telling it to. I'm just saying, hey, I just want you to bold it. I don't necessarily need to see it. I know that that's what you're going to do. I'm going to hit F8. And did not look like that's what it did. So let's take a look and see if it actually is bolded. It did not bold that. That's interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to just double check cells 10, 5 dot select. Okay, that's exactly why I did it, because I went from 10.5 to 10.4, and if we come out here, I'll grab the right window, you'll notice that that one actually is bolded. Now, what are the other things that you can do? There's a bunch of them. You can do you can do it italics. You can change the color of the background. You can change the color of the text. You can put you can color those. I already said that. You can put borders around it. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with cells. Typically when you're coding, unless you're trying to code to make things pretty, you're basically going to be taking data and you're going to be putting it somewhere else. So let me just show you really quickly how we could do that from one sheet to another. So we've got sheet 1 to sheet and sheet 2, so I just added a sheet, and we're going to go cells. No, actually we need sheets, and we're actually going to use the sheet name, and we're going to go 10.4, and notice it doesn't do anything there, and that's actually what I want to pull data from, so that actually needs to be at the right. So we're going to put equals here. We're going to go sheets, and we're going to type in sheet 2 dot parentheses dot cells, and we're just going to put that in 1.1. Now when I hover over this, it's going to tell me, it should tell me what that is. It doesn't look like that. It's going to do that. It's going to bold that. We already bolded it. Again, if you bolded it twice, it's not going to do anything. I'm going to hit this. What I expect to happen is I expect 10.4, which is this guy right here. That's 10, column D. I expect that to be put right here. So let's see if this works. I've been known to mess up before. Now you notice that it didn't select anything, and visually you can't actually even see that it did that, but since we've selected the parent, it's going to do that perfectly, and it did. So this is a really quick background of what cells are, what you can do with them. It's mostly used, especially when you start coding initially, you're going to be pulling data and putting it in different places. And then eventually you may just get to a place where you want stuff to look pretty, and then you can use bold, you can use colors, etc. Hope this is useful. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe to Everyday VBA.